Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. Happy NFL Day to all those who celebrate, which is most of you in the chat. Chris Kish, CLE fan. Kurt Koenig is in here. Achilles TPS. Christian Hastings. Thanks for being in here. I'm in a hotel. I'll be at headquarters later on today. You can catch me there. Let's see how we did on the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. The Wednesday recap, it's another winning record, but barely. We go 4-3. AMAGs. 2 for 2. And by the way, the home run calls that not only did the Inside the Lines people predict, but also AMAGs, really, really good stuff there. The SportsLine picks go 2-0 as well. 3 losses, 4 wins. We'll take that, but we want to improve on 4-3 because we're not making a ton of money there. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We've got an all-star cast. We're waiting to see if we can get Tom Casale in here, but we've got PropStarz. We've got Matt Snyder. We've got Mike McClure. I don't know where to start, but it's Thursday night, Proppy. It's Thursday night football. You happen to be, I think, on the East Coast. Your Eagles are playing tonight. How excited are you?
Could not be more excited. Back after a brief hiatus here. Full systems go. My Eagles playing tonight. Massive game. Could not be more excited for that and the start of the NFL season. So, yeah, this is a great time to be a sports fan.
I do want to say this. I told everybody yesterday, we don't have our typical primetime show tonight. Those primetime shows will happen at home office Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays, but we don't have one today regardless. None of those shows will happen tonight. If you have football questions regarding Thursday night football, put them in the chat. If you like a prop and you're not sure about it, or a spread or a total or an alt line, put it in the chat. Make sure you put the price so we know what it is. Be very specific, but we're going to try to answer some questions on this show as well. Mike, we've got FFT DFS later today too. A lot going on. How you doing today?
I am great. See a lot going on. Love the opening day of the NFL season. Just massive prize pools in DFS also. Over $1 million up top tonight. Just always fun when you get that opportunity. And you got the U.S. Open going on. 3 of the best players in the world still in on the men's side as predicted. Love this time of year.
All right. Samuel Gallegos in the chat. Sniper, he says, AMAGs popped off again yesterday. Great day for him. Great day for the home run props. Sniper, how you doing? It's only a 6-game slate, if memory serves. Kind of maybe, I know it's a getaway day, but maybe deferring to football a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. And I'll still get my baseball plays in, but I'm obviously a huge NFL fan too. So I'm excited for the season as well. And I will enjoy listening to all you guys with your expertise. I will soak it all in, absorb it.
All right. We've already got some NFL questions in the chat, which we will get to in a little bit. I'll tell you what. Let's start with some football. Let's start with some prop stars. But Proppy, you've got plays on, I believe, a Sunday game, but also a game tomorrow in Brazil.
Indeed, yeah. We'll start with the Friday game. We're talking Chiefs and Chargers. And I like a couple of overs. These are the first 2 props that I've put out, and I like them quite a bit. We're going to start with Xavier Worthy to go over 60.5 receiving yards for Kansas City. Xavier Worthy has a big opportunity with Rashee Rice on the sidelines for the next 6 games. He's going to serve as Patrick Mahomes' primary target. At this stage of Travis Kelce's career, you cannot build a passing game around him like you could 3-4 years ago. And this is when Worthy has, again, a huge opportunity in front of him. Had a pretty promising rookie season, was up and down, but towards the end of the year, it really started clicking for Worthy and Mahomes together, ate up a lot of targets, culminating in a massive playoff performance against the Eagles, but really looked good when Rice was on the sidelines and served as that primary target for Patrick Mahomes. Had a very impressive 8.1 yards per target. A lot of the underlying metrics were solid here as well, but I'm expecting a big step or a leap for him in year 2. I think we're going to see this Chiefs offense open things up more. I don't think Mahomes can play any worse than he did last year. I also anticipate passing volumes going to increase for Kansas City, who I believe had the fewest pass attempts over the duration of Mahomes' career. So there is a lot to like with Xavier Worthy, who I think is going to seize this opportunity. And I think he's going to flirt with 8 to 12 targets right out the gate. So I love him to go over 60.5 receiving yards. Would not shock me if this line climbs up near 70 by week 2 or week 3. And this is the last time we get a buy low option on Xavier Worthy, who I think is headed for a big sophomore campaign. Reminds me a lot of a young Tyreek Hill. I think he's going to do a lot of the same things that Tyreek did in that offense. Still a lot of room to grow from an efficiency standpoint as well. So I love Xavier Worthy week 1. Then we're going over to another guy I like, another over, Sam Laporta, to go over 40.5 receiving yards. A bit of a forgotten man in this Detroit offense. Laporta had a disappointing sophomore campaign after the massive rookie season where it looked like he was going to be the best tight end or one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. Regressed last year. But really, I think a lot of that can be attributed to dealing with a variety of injuries, a shoulder injury that plagued him. He didn't eclipse 40 yards, I believe, until week 12 or 13. And he admitted that he was not 100% until then, but he exploded towards the end of the season. Also performed very well in the playoffs for Detroit. We know Jared Goff loves to target the tight end as well. So we're getting a discount on this line for Laporta. I think this game against Green Bay has some sneaky shootout potential as well. Green Bay was very generous to opposing tight ends last season. I think their linebackers can be exploited in coverage. So I think Jared Goff is going to lean on his safety blanket. I also think Detroit's defense may not be as good as it was last year, and thus they're going to be in a lot of high volume passing environments. So I'm going to buy low on Sam Laporta here to go over 40.5 receiving yards.
There's a lot of universal just liking of that Worthy pick in particular. Sniper, I believe it was you who said you've invested in Xavier Worthy on your fantasy team. I have 2. Yeah. I have 3 like really big teams. I should say 4. And Worthy is on, I think, 3 out of the 4. And Mike, I saw you in the comments as well. Obviously, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I do want to get your take on that game, but talk to me about Xavier Worthy, Mike McClure.
Yeah, I like Worthy. And as Proppy mentioned, it's just the opportunity in the first few weeks of the season with Rice being out. Rice had been out as well. So it's a role that he's had before and has seen before. I expect him to continue to take a step forward. Keep in mind the way they get creative. Like this team knows they want to put the ball in his hands, particularly with Rice not out there. But some of the formations Kansas City runs that essentially look like a handoff, just a touch pass forward, count as receiving yards. That is a big deal for a guy like Worthy. But to me, yeah, big play after big play. I think that the game's relatively competitive, and I think they take shots deep to him in this game. So I like him 100 yards, and I think his lines for the next few games with Rice out will be 75 to 80 will be where his prop settles. And basically a top 10 receiver in the NFL for the first. Yeah.
Worthy ladder, says Rick Funkin. And Proppy, to the extent, I mean, people want to maybe ladder this, but to the extent this line has gone up, I know Jen was talking about, well, she was talking about 2 things. One is, what is Proppy doing taking 2 overs? She can't believe it. She thinks that's your like long lost brother or something. But more importantly, it's 63.5 at some places. Would you take it there as well?
Yeah, very comfortable with this one. I have a significant edge as far as my projections are concerned. So comfortable playing this one up to at least 64.5 yards here. But yeah, I have him projected to go for 77 yards, which is a pretty significant edge. And again, I think he's going to function. I think he's going to have an expanded route tree. We're going to see that right away. I think they're going to deploy him in a variety of ways. Mike talked about it. Also, 20 targets last year on screens. So was very bullish and impressed with the way he was utilized. And I think things are only going to grow between him and Mahomes. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, I'm comfortable with 63.5.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the receiver depth chart right now, I mean, obviously Kelsey is a pass catcher and, they throw to their tight ends. But, I mean, I think Juju is the 3rd receiver in that offense, Proppy.
He is, yeah. And one thing I did want to mention, last year, I believe 74% route participation. That number should tick up to at least 82 to 85% here in week 1. So there is just a lot of room for growth for Xavier Worthy. And I also have quite a few shares of him in fantasy and think he's a great pick where his current ADP is.
If this is the analysis you like, go to CBS Sports Network. Make sure you're watching CBS Sports Network tomorrow at 1 o'clock, because that's where you're going to find PropStarz dishing out all kinds of props, maybe including touching on some of these. All right, let's move to baseball real quick. This is a very diverse show. We're going to answer your questions, MLB, NFL, US Open, whatever the case may be. We're going to MLB. And then we've got some sports line picks. We're gonna have our home run chart, and then we're gonna go back to your questions. But we got a lot to talk about. Sniper, 6 games in Major League Baseball. We're gonna start with a Rays team total.
Yeah, we are. First, Joey B in the chat said Sniper is a lefty. He didn't know that. I don't know how he could tell, but yes, I'm left-handed. So I don't know if I do stuff with this hand a lot, but yeah, I'm left-handed.
Interesting.
Anyway, the Rays are actually facing a lefty tonight. I'm going to go Rays over 4.5 on the team total here. In their last 5 home games, and they are at home again, they've scored 10, 7, 10, 6, and 9 runs. That's 8.4 a game. Guardians starter Logan Allen on the hill, 4.97 road ERA, 5.28 second half ERA, 5.96 ERA in August. Noticing a trend, he's getting worse and worse and worse. Now, Rays do struggle against left-handed pitching, but that doesn't mean they're always going to be bad against lefties. You could throw me up there, and they would crush me. Logan Allen looks like he's trending in the wrong direction. I love the Rays offense right now, so I'm going to go over 4.5 runs on this. And also, I'm going to go to a Chicago team, but it's not the Cubs who are off today. I'm going to pick the White Sox here. And remember a few weeks ago, or maybe like last week, when Bucket said there was an asinine line, I thought of Buckets when I saw this, because I thought this line is way, way, way off. It's an asinine line. The White Sox are 20-23 in the second half. Not good, but not awful. You know who is awful? The Twins. The Twins are 15-28 in the second half. The Twins are a much worse team right now. I think we've got some lingering stigma on the White Sox here, and people are thinking, oh, well, the Twins are the much better team and they're at home. Look, the White Sox have won 5 in a row against the Twins right now. Shane Smith on the hill for the White Sox, 2.67 ERA since he pitched in the All-Star game. On the other side, Taj Bradley of the Twins, the White Sox beat him up on July 23rd. The White Sox beat him up on August 24th. They're getting a third look at him in just over a month. Get out of here. And his last 2 times against them, 6 2/3 innings, he allowed 11 runs. I love the White Sox in this game. I can't understand why it'd be plus 130.
Wow, very interesting stuff. We're going to have some baseball questions, but let's go to, Ben, if you don't mind, let's go to the home run chart so we can have Sniper comment on these players. We've got Kyle Manzardo plus 385 versus plus 420. Kyle Schwarber plus 220 versus plus 265. I mean, those numbers are kind of silly. Zach Neto plus 385 versus plus 420. Sniper, any commentary on these 3 or anybody else?
Yeah, Manzardo is that the Guardians at Rays in George Steinbrenner Field. The ball does fly there when it's really hot, which is pretty much all the time. And Ryan Pepio has given up a decent number of home runs at home, so that makes sense. You know, I always love Kyle Schwarber, too, my fellow Hoosier, who also swings from the left-handed side of the plate. So, yeah, I like both of those.
Let me ask you one other thing. I don't think we've touched on this one yet. There is kind of a big pitching matchup with the Dodgers. They went down, 3-0 yesterday. It is Blake Snell and Paul Skeens on the mound. That's a 640 game. Dodgers a slight favorite. I'm sure people have some interest in that game, so I wanted to ask you about
it. I probably would lean toward the Dodgers maybe winning it late. But just after seeing the Pirates shell Kershaw a few days ago, I don't know. I was kind of shell-shocked on that, so I'm staying away. I also still don't know how deep in the games the Pirates are going to continue to let Skeens pitch this season. So you could see something like him getting pulled after 5 innings. It's difficult there. Another good pitching matchup, possible NLCS preview, is in Milwaukee, Ranger Suarez and Freddie Peralta there in the game where we have the Schwarber home run prop.
Okay. We got some more MLB questions, a lot of NFL questions. I do want to tell everybody, obviously, you're going to have a lot of BetMGM promos today. And here's one. You'll get a huge football boost pack at BetMGM. Players will receive a pro football odds boost, pro football parlay boost, and a pro football SGP boost. If your wager wins that was made with the token, you will receive extra winnings and unrestricted bonus dollars. Really good stuff there. A lot of boost packs, obviously, for opening night. And don't forget, we're riding a bet together. We're all going to make an early edge bet to ride. Maybe on Sunday, you could kind of put a Friday bet in there if you wanted to, but in the YouTube comments or in the Spotify or Spotify comments or YouTube comments, put your favorite bet for the weekend. It could be the Friday game, but most likely it's probably one of those Sunday games. We're going to vote on one and pick one tomorrow. And by the way, I'm going to be doing this show from the studio tomorrow. So these curtains behind me, you won't have to look at those. Let's look at some SportsLine picks before we get to more here. Mike McClure, we got to get to your picks. George Pickens over 53.5 receiving yards at -115, and Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns at +120. Stephen O, RJ White on those. And we might have some commentary there later on in the show. I'll tell you what, though, we got to get to Mike's picks. We got to get to your questions. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
We are back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. A lot of questions football related. I really need the prices here because Ninja, if you're going to give me Dak over 250 passing yards, I don't know what the number is there. So I need more. Saquon 13.5 receiving yards. Proppy, this is your wheelhouse. You don't like taking running back receiving yards. You think it's a little too finicky, too much variance. Talk to me about whether you take Saquon 13.5 over. I'm assuming he's asking for the over 13.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I typically don't bet a lot of running back receiving props. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, they're highly volatile. Reason being, they're not the primary target. They're often a check down, so they're not really part of the game plan. So it's just hard to bank on the consistency or volume of targets. So Saquon, while he's certainly a capable receiver and these numbers are often low and attractive, I just look for other categories where I feel I have a greater edge. So I'd lean over, but not something I'm betting personally.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, to that point, I would say, running back receiving, definitely game script dependent, a lot more than some of the other stats you'd be looking at or bets you'd be looking at. With them as an 8.5 point home favorite, I would not anticipate a ton of opportunity there. I also think that sounds crazy that anyone could cut into Saquon Barkley. I think Will Shipley's going to get some run this year, particularly early in the season. I think that the goal is getting Saquon healthy and keeping him healthy for the playoff run. But I think Shipley is a very strong number 2 and someone that if you've got props available, I absolutely love his rushing yards over tonight at 9.
We have PropStarz available. Go ahead, Proppy.
Just to piggyback on what Mike said, I completely agree. The Eagles are very aware of the type of workload that Saquon was given both in the playoffs and during the regular season. So they definitely want to ease him in here. And again, Will Shipley has really flashed both in the preseason and the reports. So in practice as well, he's also a very adept receiver. So if he was going to cut in to Saquon, I think a lot of that would come actually on third down or obvious passing down. So I certainly think Will Shipley will get some play tonight. One guy I think is really interesting is Jahan Dotson, who the Eagles required prior from your commander, Sia, last year. Really made very minimal impact in his first season as an Eagle. However, all of the reports about Dotson have been absolutely glowing, that him and Jalen Hurts have real chemistry, that Hurts is looking for him often. So his line opened at 5.5 yards. I definitely like him to get at least one reception, potentially early when plays are scripted as well. But I definitely think there's some potential for Jahan Dotson to earn some targets in this Eagles passing attack.
That is interesting. Yeah, Dotson 8 receiving yards. You're basically banking on him making a catch. If it's all the way up to 8, Proppy, maybe people are kind of listening to you and watching what's going on at camp. I do like, by the way, I like Jalen Hurts to, this isn't my official pick, but I like Jalen Hurts to hit the deep ball sometime early in this game. I think the Cowboys have really no choice but to declare and just try to stop the running game and just hope that their corners can survive on an island. Because, again, you can't just get paper cut to death all the way down the field, and that's what the Eagles can do to you. So I think just to loosen up that defense, to get Saquon to get some runs where the box isn't completely stacked. I think he takes some shots to a healthy receiving group, which he doesn't normally have. I mean, this is prime time for Jalen Hurts to actually flash his arm with Devontae Smith healthy, A.J. Brown healthy, and I believe Dallas Goedert healthy in this one as well. So I think he's going to take some shots early, loosen up this defense. So I do, it's a lean, but I do like his longest completion prop, which is pretty high at 36.5 as Ben flashes up the BetMGM spread and total and money line here. Okay, two things. Mike, we got to get your U.S. Open pick. We're going to get back to some more questions before we adjourn, but I want to give a shout out to Wes Roberts and Philip Terrasses. I'm going to read Philip's comment first. He says, first live show this week, been busy. My wife gave birth to our first kid, a little boy named Remy, on Sunday, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Both mom and baby are happy and healthy. Biggest cash of my life. And then Wes Roberts says, just had my first child, the Pampers parlay originator. Can we get a parlay shout out for Noah? So Noah and Remy, welcome to the world. Happy birthday just a few days ago. And thank you, fathers, mothers, whoever's watching us with newborns. Appreciate you taking some time. Hopefully we're brightening your day just a little bit. All right, Mike, U.S. Open. It's kind of taking a back seat here with NFL and MLB, but you've got to pick.
Huge matchup in the U.S. Open. Once again, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. Look, Novak has had the most incredible career, really, in any sport. He's 38 years old, playing the 22-year-old Carlos Alcaraz, whose time on court has been absolutely minimized here. He has not dropped a set yet in the U.S. Open, winning everything in straight sets. I think that happens again here. I'm going Carlos Alcaraz in straight sets, plus 150, the price point. I think Novak Djokovic is just a step behind, unfortunately. Father Time is catching up to him in this particular matchup. He is great against almost everyone else in the field, as evident by making a semifinal, but he doesn't have the quickness. He doesn't have everything to stay with Alcaraz in center at this point. I know that they've played on hard courts. He's beat him on a hard court earlier this season. However, I like the form that Alcaraz is in. I think it's a collision course between Alcaraz and Sinner in this particular tournament. So while I love Novak Djokovic, huge fan, I think he's probably going to be just a step behind here. While he was had the ability to look at, so I'm reading the chat as I'm coming in. People are not necessarily loving the straight sets. When I talk about Novak, though, while he had the ability to discard Fritz relatively easily, that match was a lot closer on paper. If you look at how that actually played out, I think that the match was nearly even. So when I look at Djokovic here, I just think he is a step behind. I think Alcaraz is going to be extremely aggressive. I think he's coming in about as rested as you can be when you're talking about the semifinal of a Grand Slam event like this. So I'm going to go plus 150 here for Alcaraz in straight sets.
Okay. We got a straight sets at plus 150. Sniper, I want to roll over to you. Do you see any? Carlos and Sinner are in their own league, says D. Johnson. Bold pick, says Chris Kish. Love it. Do you see any MLB picks? I see a couple here to address, but I don't know if you have any.
Somebody put in they like Brewers on the money line. I actually think the Phillies are going to get them today. I like Ranger Suarez there. And the Brewers bullpen is becoming more and more depleted. They already had McGill go down with an injury. They lost Shelby Miller. So the back end of their bullpen is really depleted right now. I would go Phillies on that. Earlier, somebody asked Jeremy Pena of the Astros against Carlos Rodon over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. That's for the game, not just Rodon, but said that he's 4 of 7 against Rodon in his career. Sure, if you like that play, go with it. Sometimes only 7 at bats against guys, a very small sample, but 4 for 7 is a really good start. So I'm good with that too. That's most of it. I mean, only 6 games today. And NFL is the big deal, obviously.
All right, let's go to some more football questions. We have a little bit of time. And I do want to remind people, I put it in the chat, the Fantasy Football Today DFS show is going to be released around 12:30 today. It's me, Mike, and Meg Schaup. It's a really good show, not just for DFS. We kind of discuss, and there's some overlay with like props and things of that nature. We discuss a lot. We do a game-by-game preview, and at the very end of the show, we're going to answer some questions. We're going to give you Mike's top 3 at each position. And again, even if you don't play DFS, it's applicable to the betting lines and the prop lines in particular. It's just something to keep in mind. We're not recording these first few live. They're going to be pre-recorded. We'll see what happens after that, but they'll be released right after they're recorded. So make sure you download Fantasy Football Today DFS, and make sure if you want to watch the show, go to the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel to watch it. Again, it'll be released between 12 and 1 today. Danny Garcia says, you guys like Barkley and Hurts touchdown parlay, plus 264. I don't like that personally, Proppy, but any thoughts on Barkley or Hurts to get in the end zone?
I believe it was RJ that has the play on him over 1.5 passing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. I like that quite a bit at plus money. I agree that Jalen Hurts is going to be able to air it out in this matchup in particular. I definitely think the Eagles or the Cowboys will be, prepared for the Eagles in the sense of we'll see some heavy boxes. And I do think that Jalen Hurts, with the continuity with his receivers, having played with them as long as they have, having the full core healthy, I definitely think we'll see Jalen Hurts air the ball out in this matchup. I think the Eagles will definitely attack the Cowboys down the field where they're certainly vulnerable here. So I like that look of 1.5 touchdowns quite a bit.
Yeah, and for the record, the Danny Garcia play was Hurts and Barkley to get in the end zone. I don't think just with the variance of touchdowns, I'm just not a big fan of asking both of them to get in, even at plus 264. Let's go to a Sunday game. And Mike, if you have any thoughts, get your hand up here too. But Ibuka over 56.5 receiving yards. It's minus 135. Proppy, any thoughts on him? I mean, we know Chris Godwin isn't playing. We know Ibuka, yeah, he's a rookie, but he's probably the wide receiver too in game one behind Mike Evans. It scares me a little bit. I'm going to be on the prop show tomorrow as well. I've got a Bucky Irving prop that I'm going to come with, and I do think they're going to run the ball. I think both teams are. What are your thoughts on this rookie receiver getting 57 or more yards?
I think this number is a little high. This opened, I believe, around 51 or 52 and has since sailed north. I am very bullish on Ibuka. I do believe that he will hit the ground running. He's very polished. All the reports about him have been glowing. He'll have Baker's trust. But there's still relatively a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. And again, against the Falcons, who we know are going to run the football, we could see Tampa Bay look to be run heavy here as well. So the number's a little too high for me to be comfortable with it. I do think it's an efficient line, and it has moved north quite a bit. So not something I'm playing the over on.
Mikey, do you have any thoughts on this Bucs-Falcons game? Because we're going to talk about it a lot on FFT DFS because it's going to be rich with potential options on the main slate. That line has moved from 2.5 to 1.5 in a lot of places. So Atlanta taking some money at home, which is very understandable. Do you have a take on that game?
I'm going to pull up my numbers, which I ran a little over a week ago, but I didn't have any position on it, no play on it or anything like that. I made Tampa minus 1.7, so minus 1.5. Pretty much right in line. Agree with it. No strong take either way.
Okay. I'm looking to see if we have any lingering questions here. Ray Garcia Snyper says, and I know you had the pick on the Rays, but he asks, he didn't provide a price, which is unfortunate because it's hard to analyze here. Ray's run line.
I mean, the Guardians really pounded the ball the last 2 days, and I would be inclined to just take a look at the totals and kind of look at overs there.
Okay. I'll tell you what, just so you know, I don't have a pick for today. I'm just bringing over the Jake Ferguson pick from yesterday. I think we can probably go to the recap screen. I will tell you when we do the early edge tomorrow from the studio, we're going to be talking about that Friday game. To the extent you want to talk about that Friday game, I'm sure we're going to have picks, but if you guys have questions for that game, let us know and we will address them tomorrow morning on the early edge. That's big pick energy Friday. I'm pulling my pick over from yesterday. I just want everybody to be aware that might not have been watching yesterday. I've got Jake Ferguson over 32.5 receiving yards. If you want the analysis on that, just go back to the early edge yesterday or go to SportsLine where I put that pick and the Xavier Legette pick from earlier this week. More to come from me there. Rays team total over 4.5 says Sniper at minus 105. And the White Sox money line plus 130. Then we go to tennis. Anyone? Carlos Alcaraz 3 love at plus 150. That's the bet over Novak Djokovic. That is on Friday. Then we go to some props, one of which is tomorrow. Sam Laporta over 40.5 receiving yards at minus 115, and Xavier Worthy over 60.5 receiving yards, also at minus 115. We got a couple of sports line picks. George Pickens over 53.5 receiving yards at minus 115, courtesy of RJ White. And Jalen Hurts over 1.5 touchdown passes at plus 120. That one courtesy of Stephen O. And our home run chart What do we have? We've got Kyle Manzardo, Kyle Schwarber, Zach Neto. Those are the top MLB home run plays, courtesy of SportsLine and the Inside the Lines crew. Big Cheesy is in here. I know he put some very sharp picks in there. Jeff Stenberg, probably some Yankees. Hey, Joe Neuenfeld is in here. Thank you, everybody, for being in here. I know there's a lot of questions about the hotel room and the curtains and room service, which I won't get and haven't gotten, and people coming in. And of course, I have the do not disturb on the door. Come on, everybody. I'm not a rookie at all of this stuff. I will be doing this show from the studio tomorrow, so you won't have to see this. And we were going to be doing FFT DFS. That's going to be released within the next couple of hours. A lot of us that you see on this screen are going to be all over CBS Sports HQ today and tomorrow. We've got our prop show tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Stay locked into this SportsLine YouTube channel in particular, because if you miss it on CBS Sports Network, sometimes that content does get put on this channel. Highly encourage you to do that. All right, Proppy, thank you. Matt Snyper, thank you. Mike McClure, thank you. And Ben, thanks for managing this show in the background. We've got to see you on camera. Maybe tomorrow, while you're helping me out with the in-studio show, you can come on camera, because it'll be a different environment for me there. All right, that's going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining the show. This is The Early Edge, and we rest our case.